Welcome back, everybody. I'm Ryan,
Hey, what's up? I'm Nick.
and this is Smash Comics.
Yo.
So we're going to be covering Flash and Arrow, which crossed over this week.
Yeah, it was called Heroes Join Forces. You know, obviously, Flash is on Tuesday. It was weird how they did it because Flash is on Tuesday, but the Flash episode was held in Star City mainly, and the Arrow episode was mainly held in Central City. So they kind of switched it up. Yeah. So what I'm about to say is, if you haven't watched the episode yet, it's gonna be a spoiler. So spoiler alert.
Go back, watch it, and then come back and find
Watch
it.
both. Watch the Arrow and the Flash. We're covering both in this
Yes,
episode.
we will be here when you come back. I enjoyed it. It was good. They started off with Cisco and Kendra going on a date, and we're introduced to who's basically going to be the main villain in DC's Legend of Tomorrow show that's going to start in January. And his name is Vandal Savage.
If you don't know anything about Vandal Savage, from the comics, he's basically an immortal. He was a caveman way back, when cavemen were around. And this meteor came and just destroyed everything. And then I guess he kind of ended up around the meteor, and he soaked up all the glow and the radiation from the meteor, which basically made him live forever.
It gave him immortality. It also gave him the meteor may not have given it to him, but over time, over the thousands or however long he's been alive, he's gained super strength, super intelligence, all the things that would make basically one of the strongest villains.
When he soaked up all that radiation, he became aware, he became really smart. So he basically had the leadership to be able to lead all the other cavemen because he had all the intelligence, and as everyone knows, knowledge is power.
That's how they showed it in the comics. Now, as we see at the end, or in Arrow, when it's going back and showing how he started and everything, it's actually...
It's really
different.
similar.
It's similar, but it's a different origin.
Yeah, it's pretty similar. A meteor crash, and because I remember how they said, with the staff.
Right. But they also had it started in ancient Egypt, right?
Yeah.
I'm
pretty sure it always started in ancient Egypt, didn't it?
So the show starts off in ancient Egypt with Kendra being the what's she called? Priestess,
the warrior priestess,
whatever it was. And Carter, which is he was a royalty. He was the prince. They were basically together back in ancient Egypt, but they were forbidden from being together. Vandal Savage found them together. He knew they were together, but he didn't expose it until where we find out. And they were in the midst of something called these sky rocks falling, which are meteors. And one of these meteors ends up hitting the temple right after Vandal Savage kills both the warrior priestess and Carter.
Kendra and Carter are basically, they are eternal lovers. So they die. Whenever they die, they're reincarnated, and their sole purpose is to come back to each other and find each other again. But where Kendra picks up in present day is she's she just moved to Central City, and she kind of just wants, everything's new to her. She's starting out new. She has a relationship with Cisco, which she was hesitant at first, but she's starting to embrace. So when Carter comes by and drops this huge load on her, talking about she's a warrior and they're eternal lovers, her first reaction is, no, this is stupid. Yeah. So anyways, Carter and Kendra are eternal lovers. They're supposed to be together forever. Some kind of other crap. I don't even know. Who knows? But basically, Kendra being new to everything is just nah, nigga, and I don't want any of this. I got Cisco over here, and you just, she doesn't want any part of it. So Vandal Savage attacks her and Cisco when they're in the what's the cafe called? Whatever that cafe is called, where the Flash people, the Flash team, are always drinking their coffee and stuff. Mm-hmm. That cafe, they're basically,
Luckily, it was empty because I'm sure a lot of people would have died when he came crashing in. Or he didn't even crash in; he just snuck in.
Yeah, but it was after closing time, so which was good. Because Kendra even makes a joke about the manager trusting her enough to leave a key, which I don't understand how you trust an employee.
It's only been there for short time.
Within the first 2 weeks. Listen to me. I've been working a job since June. It is now December, and this dude has yet to give me a key to the office. So, no. He comes in and attacks, and then Cisco, having the Flash on speed dial, obviously, just presses a button and then Flash shows up and, basically doesn't really save the day. He just kind of stops something from happening and Savage leaves.
1-800 save me.
1-800 choke that over here. Hey, for real. So yeah, this episode is kind of weird. Like, it felt like they just tried to add like a bunch of stuff in at once just to kind of advance the story for Legends of Tomorrow to come in, because literally Barry comes running in and Cisco, having kept the secret so well this whole time, just goes right in front of Kendra and just goes up to the Flash and goes, "Oh, thanks, Barry." And then Kendra's like, "What?" And then they just bring Kendra back to Star Labs. So it's like they just showed her everything, and Cisco just started dating this girl like a week later. Meanwhile, Barry and Patty have been dating for a few weeks now, and they just still seem to keep Patty out of the loop, which they did a lot in this episode.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah, neither do I. I like Patty's character a lot. I like how this whole dynamic between Patty and Barry's going, and I hope they continue that, because I really like Patty's character. She's like that quirky, kind of nerdy, kind of cute girl, I mean, I like it. It's entertaining to watch. She's just a goof, and I think it's perfect. But like, yeah, this episode, they really keep her out the loop again, by not telling her things, and she ends up shooting Professor Wells because she thinks Professor Wells is a criminal, and they still won't tell her what's going on. They just say, okay, Joe comes in, it's just like, you gotta leave.
I'm so sick of having secrets especially in these two shows where you're working with, you're not just by yourself, you're with a team, and you need to trust these people. So don't keep secrets from them. You're trusting you're trusting Patty to basically protect the city without telling her any of this information.
Exactly.
You're hiding this from her, and I don't like it.
I don't understand too. It's like Barry obviously really likes this girl. It's like the longer he keeps going in this relationship, the harder it's going to be to tell. The harder it's going to be when you actually have to tell her, Oh, by the way, on the Flash, it's like, well, why didn't you tell me? It's like kind of like when pressure builds up, when you have, it's like when you have something that's like just keeps building up pressure like an earthquake.
Like shaking a Coke bottle.
Yeah, it's kind of like the aspect of it. It's like when you have so much pressure building up, the longer and longer you wait, that when you finally have to tell her, it's just going to explode. So I think they should just throw her in the loop. If you're going to bring Kendra, because at this point, they didn't know Kendra was Hawk Girl. Mm-hmm. I can understand if they knew Kendra's Hawk Girl, they'd be like, okay, we'll go come show you this. But they didn't know anything about her. Only Cisco knew, and Cisco didn't really even tell anybody.
Kept it from everybody.
Yeah,
He did mention it. A few episodes ago when he first found out, he kind of went to Iris and was like, hey, have you heard anything about a winged man? Because he didn't realize it was Kendra. He thought it was a guy in this Hawk a costume.
Yeah.
So that was really that's really the only time before this that he's mentioned anything about somebody with wings.
They decide that the only way to keep her safe is to take her to Star City. Now, like I said, this whole episode just seems really forced to me. I mean, they've done such a good job of, protecting themselves and other people that they just randomly just decided to say, oh, we don't know anything about magic, we're going to take them to Star City, Like I said, I love the crossovers, don't get me wrong. I think it's cool. I don't really like how they announce the crossovers. I think that it just makes it seem so forced. Like, I think it should just get to the point where, they just pop up.
It doesn't have to be announced. It's just
they just
you
appear.
Expect
and,
it, but it's not going to happen all the time. Just expect it to happen. We're not going to say anything about it.
Yeah,
you're just going to be surprised.
They're just going to appear in random episodes. Like one episode, you're just going to see Oliver come in, for like 20 minutes of the episode. I just feel like that's the point of having a shared universe. That's
the thing. That's the thing with trailers now, is that they show so much.
Yeah, dude.
Basically, seeing the whole episode in a 30 to 40 second time span, it ruins everything.
Yeah. So yeah, they take Kendra to Star City, and then, they have a little reunion, and nice to see you and all that stuff, all that, giving them daps and like, yo.
When especially from the Flash's side, when Flash crosses over into Star City, I don't like how they show Team Arrow, their aspect, their teamwork, everything like that. They make it seem more lighthearted than it actually is. Like, yeah, I realize this season Arrow's changed a lot. They're going with the Green Arrow, and he's supposed to be a little bit more lighthearted. Things are not supposed to be as dark or as serious as they have been for the past 4 seasons. But it's just, they take it to, it's not the right aspect. It's not the right because there are people that sit there and they'll watch Flash, only Flash, and they won't watch Arrow. which I don't know why you would do that, because that doesn't make any sense. It's giving the wrong representation of Arrow. It's making Arrow seem like a show that is like Flash in the sense of it's more humorous, less dark than it actually is.
Yeah. Oh, okay. This is supposed to be talking about these 2 episodes, so I'm just gonna quickly just mention this. But I think the first 2 seasons of Arrow were great, but last season and this season, I mean, this season so far is better than last season. I feel like, but I feel like these last couple of seasons, it's just like they just have no idea what they want to do with this show. So it's like they introduce so many elements at once, So yeah, they take them to Star City. They have their little party, and then Vandal Savage attacks. And so Barry and and Oliver, they
take lead on the defense.
Yeah, and then they knock him out the window, and then he ends up just disappearing. So then after that, Malcolm shows up and basically explains who Savage is and saying that he's an immortal and stuff. And Barry, being the optimistic kid that he is always just like, oh, if we have hope, we can beat him. And Carter, who is trying to explain to Kendra that that
who shows up out of nowhere. I have no idea how he found them in the first place.
Yeah, he basically shows up out of nowhere, kidnaps Kendra, and then is trying to explain to her what happens. But Oliver finds them, and Barry catches up to them, and then they end up taking down Carter and chaining him up. And then
he tries to explain, but nobody really believes anything that Malcolm said about this man being an immortal.
They've seen so many stuff now. Like, I feel like believing in immortal is just, like, whatever. They saw people come back from the dead. I mean,
really, I don't see how they could be surprised by anything at this point.
Yeah, so Carter's trying to explain to them, like, who he is, who Kendra's supposed to be, and no one's having it at first.
No one's buying it.
So, I mean, for the sake of, not explaining the whole episode and trying to, not make this video like an hour long, I'm just going to skip some details. But basically, they end up on a rooftop where Carter basically pushes Kendra off so that her wings, she'll merge, is the term they use. Emerge. Yeah, emerge is the term they use. And her wings will sprout, which doesn't work the first time, and Barry has to go catch her. So they don't really know what to do at this point. Basically, Barry and Oliver go at Vandal Savage again. But now Savage is armed with this staff from the ancient Egypt time.
It's the Staff of Horus, I believe it's called.
Yeah,
which is something he carried with him. We find out when it flashes back to ancient Egypt and showing all this. It's the staff that he carries in and commences to beating the crap out of Carter and Kendra.
Yeah. Basically, Savage kills Carter and Kendra. He has killed Carter and Kendra 206 times. Every time he kills them, he ends up getting stronger. So Carter, his big mission is, or his goal is, he keeps saying, I don't want to lose a 207th time. Like, I want to beat him this time. Mm-hmm. So that's why he's trying so hard to, get everyone to realize just, how serious this is. So anyways, Oliver and Barry go after Vandal Savage with his staff, and then he ends up like beating them and blowing up a church. And then that's pretty much how the Flash episode ends. And Arrow picks up with them. They are camping out in this like old like farm town. Whose house was that?
I don't know whose house it was. It was a house on a farm.
Yeah.
It looked like it was in the middle of nowhere. Definitely outside the city.
Yeah.
I'm not.
It was around Central City. It was close to Central City though, like right on the outskirts of Central City. So yeah, and then basically the whole episode is them planning, what they're gonna do with Vandal Savage, and also a big theme in this episode too is Oliver. He meets his son. He meets his son, but the mom doesn't want the son to know that that's his dad. So she agrees to let him see. Yeah, she agrees to let him see him on the condition that he can't tell anybody, and he can't tell the son.
It's with these secrets. It doesn't make sense. Why would you sit there and tell the father of your child that he can't tell his kid who he is?
Yeah.
Which, okay, now that I think about it, I kind of understand. It's a lot for somebody to take in. You have to build a relationship before you can drop a bomb like that. But for her to sit there and tell him that he can't tell Felicity or even his sister, for that fact,
or even Diggle. Diggle is like an older guy,
friend.
Like like always giving him advice on this kind of stuff. And
Best
Diggle
friend.
has a daughter, so
yeah,
I feel like that'd be great advice.
It does not make sense to me that you would have to keep a secret like that.
Yeah,
I feel like she could have gone about it. She could have been like, yeah, you don't tell our son, but as long as you don't bring them around with you, then you can tell them.
Yeah.
Don't tell
First
them.
of all, she doesn't even know. If he would ever tell Felicity, Felicity's not the kind of girl to track her down and be like, open the door. Felicity's not some ghetto black chick, she's gonna kick your door down and stuff. Felicity's probably one of the more understanding characters in the show. So
that's all she wants to do. She wants to understand.
Yeah.
She even says it at the end of Arrow when they're back in Star City. She's like, "Oh, what did you want to tell me?" And he's like, "Oh, nothing. It's fine." And she says something like, "We're supposed to be a team.
Yeah.
And I can't be a good team player if you're not going to tell me."
And he Oliver kind of
tell her.
Honestly, Oliver just kind of shrugs it off and says, "It's over now. We're good." And they just smile and kiss and all that stuff.
I really don't like it.
Yeah,
I hate secrets.
So, anyways, the episode, they basically planning on how to beat Savage. And sorry, I forgot to say that at the end of the last episode, at the end of the Flash episode, Kendra finally finds it within her to emerge, and then her wings do sprout. So in this episode, you see Carter trying to train her. And it doesn't really work because Carter's telling her to use rage. And if you know anything about any show ever,
Rage is not
the answer for anything.
Unless you're Bruce Banner.
Or unless you're like on the dark side or something, like rage is never a good thing.
So she's dealing with Carter training her and telling her these things that he thinks are right and thinks are the right way to train her. But she's also dealing with all of her memories from her past lives coming back.
Yeah, and then also not to mention her, like, because she has to be with Carter basically, but she obviously likes Cisco, so that's also weighing on it.
It's a lot of conflict.
Basically, they're having a little training montage, and Oliver's visiting his son. So he basically the mom doesn't want the mom at first lies to them and says it's some other dude's son, but Oliver finds a way to steal a hair and tells Barry to run the sample. And then after he runs the sample, it comes back a positive, and that's his son. And then Felicity comes in and basically makes Barry give her the sample. So Felicity ends up finding out. Now, at some point in this episode, Barry was running on his way because Malcolm had set up a meeting with him, Oliver, Barry, and Vandal Savage. So Barry's on his way running to the meeting when he sees himself run by. Now, we all know that's a nod to he's probably running back in time, so you kind of get tipped off right away. At some point during this episode, or he's going to end
up back in that exact spot.
Yeah,
and everything is going to be changed.
Yeah.
Now, when they meet Savage, they're having this meeting. Oliver tries to shoots him with an arrow, hits him in the chest, and Vandal Savage just shrugs and just pulls it out and throws it on the ground, and basically tells him that they have 24 hours to bring Kendra and Carter to him, so that he can kill them.
And then Oliver, being distracted as he is, goes in
with a half-cocked plan to take down Savage.
Like Cisco had made some gloves to basically control the staff, and they were basically going to shoot. They're basically going to fake hand over Carter and Kendra, and then they're going to break loose, and then Barry's going to take control of the staff, and then him and Oliver are going to try and shoot down Savage with his own power. So,
needless to say, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Vandal Savage kills Carter, then kills Kendra,
and a huge explosion goes on.
He takes the staff and then tells Barry to run, and so Barry just runs. He kills Oliver and ends up killing. You see like Felicity and Laurel and Diggle, and all of them die. And this is where you see Flash run by himself earlier, and he ends up going back into the past to the point where the meeting had happened. And so then Barry tells Oliver for the first thing, because Oliver had no idea about time travel up to this point. So he basically tells Oliver what happens and how he time traveled, and Oliver's just like, that sounds crazy, but obviously he has to believe him because what like I said, what is there not to believe anymore?
Yeah, he also goes ahead and tells Oliver that he has a son. So Oliver knows that without having to run this hair sample anymore, he has a son. So he doesn't have to have that paper trail that Felicity's gonna find with Barry. That changes.
Like the way what I really liked how they did it, because like Barry went up to him and said, "You're planning on giving me a piece of paper, or you're planning on giving me a hair sample to run, and I'm not really sure what it is, but I'm pretty sure you have a son." And right away, Oliver knew, okay, he definitely had to run back to the past because I haven't told him this yet. So So this is how he knows.
This is the first thing that Barry does to change the timeline. Now, Oliver, knowing that he has a son, not having to go through that fight with Felicity, allows him to be more focused. So first thing he does is he goes to Cisco and tells Cisco, test the gloves over and over again, make sure that they're going to work so that nothing goes wrong.
And he also tells Cisco to talk to Kendra because he knows that Carter's not going to do it right, and that Cisco, being the one who actually truly loves her and cares for her, has to talk to Kendra, which he does. And this also allows Kendra to remember, something about their first death with Savage, which also reveals that they find out like how Savage got his power, and it was from the meteor, like the sky rocks or whatever.
Yeah.
And so they call the meeting inside the house, and then there's explaining them, and then Kendra's like, yeah, I remember how we beat him. It was with the meteor that fell from the sky. And so Barry, it was just literally like half a second. He runs out the door and comes back with a chunk of the meteor, because basically they were going to use that, like it's like fighting fire with fire. They're going to use
that
that.
there, that scene where they're talking about something and he takes off and comes back. That is the kind of Flash that I want to see in this show more.
But that's not real.
Not this. I'm sorry. Not this serious, like, always complaining about something kind of Flash. Like, I want to see that this Flash, he's
like get stuff done, like
more like the comic book of Flash.
Yeah,
that would
like
do
more like
something
the Barry
that.
Allen, like from the comics. Because this version of Flash, he's always
complaining about
always
something
complaining,
else.
always whining, But I mean, no, don't get me wrong, he's cool. I like Grant Gustin, I like the way he plays him, but they should just. It's like every episode, there's always some issue. Like I just feel like she should just go out and do stuff, like how he did. So he goes out, he gets it right away, boom, comes back. Basically, it's the same plan, and that it was before, but it was well more thought out. All the details were worked out, ironed out. Everything was smooth.
The rock that he brings back from the museum, I think he finds it at. He gives it to Cisco, and Cisco basically uses the whatever's in the rock to power also give a little extra coating to the gloves, or give power to the gloves, or whatever he says, which we find out that allows Barry to actually hold the staff and use it against Savage.
And him and Oliver
Yeah.
actually held it, and they basically turned Savage into dust.
But did you realize that Oliver didn't have those gloves, but he still grabbed the staff while Barry was holding it?
Yeah.
So how did nothing happen to him?
I don't know. Maybe it was just, I don't know. It's probably like a makeshift, or not makeshift, an idea that they missed or whatever. Or maybe it was just just the power.
Plot holes.
Honestly.
Calling it.
Kind of like how in Guardians of the Galaxy, when they were all holding the
Oh.
gemstone, and
Okay.
technically they shouldn't have been able to hold it, but they did. Maybe it was something like that.
I
But
see
I
what
don't
you're
even
going
think
for.
they put thought into that. I don't know, man. Who knows, bro? Like I said, it's just whatever, man. So yeah, I mean,
Plot hole.
basically that's how the episode. The episode, obviously ends with Cisco basically says bye to Kendra. Kendra says she has to go off. Well, we all know she's gonna be in the DC Legends of Tomorrow show, so she'll be back soon.
Now, the thing is, okay, so it's been explained that Vandal Savage, every time he kills Kendra and Carter, he becomes stronger. So now that he's dead, do they become stronger? Does he come back? Does he
Well,
reincarnate?
no, because remember the episode ended with Malcolm. He took his ashes and put them into a jar.
Oh, that's
So
right.
I mean, the Lazarus Pit, as far as we know, is destroyed. So I mean, I don't know if what he's gonna do to bring him back to life, or if he's gonna do anything. But obviously, something's about to go down. We all know Savage. Well, I don't know if you do know, but Savage is gonna be the main villain of Legends of Tomorrow. At least that's what they showed in the preview of it back, when it first came out months ago. So
Okay, another thing. Did you notice his outfit?
Savage.
Yes.
I mean, what about it?
Think back to the Young Justice cartoon when Savage he had a blue vest with kind of like a red thing underneath,
I remember.
and the inside of it was green.
Yeah.
That was spot on. That is
Really?
exactly what he was wearing. Blue on the outside, green on the inside, and like it was.
Oh,
It was
nice.
the red thing. I think it was like a shirt or something. It was underneath, but it was really hard to see it.
He really does resemble the Savage from the cartoons.
He does.
And, but yeah, so that was basically the end of these episodes. Kendra, kisses Cisco one time. Then she goes off and does her thing. Barry and Oliver have a hug it out bro moment, and then the episode really ends with Malcolm putting Savage's ashes into a jar, and he said something. He was just talking to himself, Malcolm.
Oh,
is
you know what he
weird-
said? He said, okay, back in the flashback to ancient Egypt, Vandal Savage said something. I can't remember the line, but it was like right before he died, and then Malcolm was saying the same exact thing when he was putting the ashes into the jar
Yeah.
or whatever he was carrying back. So I think that the whole thing with the Ra's al Ghul character, because he has Lazarus Pit and basically he has the immortality, I can see that Ra's al Ghul, whoever has the mantle of Ra's al Ghul, is charged with keeping more like the other
balance in order, everything in
keeping
balance. Keeping everything in balance. I mean, yeah, I guess. Yeah, it makes sense. So basically, thoughts on the episode. Like I said earlier, it was good. I like last year's crossover a lot better.
Because they were fighting.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just the fighting. It just made more sense. Like this, like I said, it just felt so rushed. It felt like they tried to jam pack everything. It felt like they just said, "Okay, we need to have a crossover episode before this mid-season break comes and before Legends of Tomorrow starts, so we can introduce Kendra." And everything was just jam packed and forced.
They had the main story, and then they had like other things that they just stuck into this episode.
And and then like Patty was in it she was only in the Flash episode, and she was only in it for like 10 minutes. And
Iris wasn't even in it.
Yeah, Iris wasn't in it, and it just everything was just so, it was just so jam packed. It was nice to see them work together and everything. Don't get me wrong, I like to see their interactions, but like I said, it was just too forced. They should just let it happen more naturally, and I feel like they'd be good.
I like the fact that we don't have to wait so long. Like, how long is the mid-season break?
I don't know, like it goes from next week. The mid-season break's next week, so it goes from mid-December to like the end of January, so like a month and a half.
Okay, so basically
6 weeks probably.
Basically, we have another episode before the mid-season break. I enjoy the fact that this isn't the last one we have before the break, because I would not be happy with it. I like that there's another one coming.
Yeah, the mid-season break's kind of like, it has to be an episode like last year when Oliver got killed, and you're just like, oh, what? Like, obviously we knew Oliver was gonna stay dead,
and then also the big reveal in Flash of the Reverse Flash.
Yeah, it was just like, oh shoot, So I mean, next week they showed the preview for next week's the mid-season finale. It's gonna be like the Trickster, Captain Cold, and Weather Wizard are all gonna team up. And
it's the Rogues. It's Rogues Gallery. That's gonna be a good episode.
Yeah,
and I love Mark Hamill, dude. Mark Hamill's awesome.
We see a scene where like Patty and the Flash are like standing back to back, which I thought was really cool. Hopefully that means he tells her, or what's going on, or at least we
can only hope. Yeah,
or at least we got like, at least she's starting to actually work with the Flash now. So that's kind of leading up into him telling her. So that's good. But like I said, if I had to rate these episodes out of 10, I'd probably give them each like a 6.8, 6.9, probably a 7.0 at the highest out of 10. It's like I'd probably give them 7.0. 7.0 is probably what I give them each. Like I said, they were good episodes, but could have been better. Just too jam packed, too forced, but still above average episodes. So
I'll agree with you there. They could have been better. They could have taken a little bit more time with this whole story. They could have started the Kendra and Carter story, an episode ago or 2 episodes ago when Cisco first meets. They could have started it then, but the fact that they jam packed it all together, it takes away from the factor of entertainment, really. So when you say 7.0, I would have to go with like a 7.3, 7.4, just because
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. Maybe, I guess 7. I don't know why I said 6.8, 6.9. It's probably like 7, anywhere from like 7.0 to 7.5 would probably be good.
The wings, those things are awesome. But unlike the comic books, they're not always there. They're not always present. They retract, which is kind of hard to figure out how they just disappear or whatever.
They just kind of like, you said it right. They disappeared or something. I don't know.
But at least Kendra has a hang on it, and Carter obviously apparently had the hang of it for a while.
Which I don't even understand. Like, I don't understand how Kendra doesn't remember any of this, but Carter just somehow remembers all of this. But I mean,
he emerged first.
Yeah, I know. But even in but who pushed him to emerge?
I don't know.
But I mean, that's how it always been. Even in Justice League, it was like that because Hawkman comes back in Justice League. There's an episode where that happens.
Yeah.
Because this is when Shiera, Hawkgirl was like had a thing with Green Lantern, John Stewart. And I remember Carter came back and he kind of just tried to force his way in there, and so it's just, I don't know what it is about Hawkman that he always has he always remembers before Hawkgirl does. But
you know what I just realized? That story they told in Justice League cartoon, where it was the Shadow guy. You remember that episode where Carter and Shiera
the Shadow guy. Yeah, I remember
the Shadow guy.
Yeah,
I feel like that in these shows that's supposed to be Vandal Savage. Like that's Vandal Savage's character, because
Yes, yeah.
it would only make sense to me.
Like, they
that
don't. I
that's
mean, I
how
wouldn't
it
say
is.
it's his character, but they
No.
just replaced him with.
Yeah.
I guess.
But
Yeah.
it's that storyline minus Green Lantern being in there, and Vandal Savage is taking the place of the Shadow Thief.
Yeah, like, don't forget, like I said, we're fans. We're not. I mean, we've read a few comic books. I mean, we've
More than a
watched.
few.
Well, more than a few. But, we've watched the Justice League shows and all that stuff. So we know we kind of know we have a general idea of what we're talking about, but we don't know all the facts. Like, we're not like some major studio with every single comic book major. Like,
Obviously.
like, we're not some like major like thing. So if we get something wrong, don't be afraid to leave a comment or tell us your opinion. Yeah, don't be afraid to leave something here at SmashCom Reviews on Twitter, or you can follow either of us on Instagram, 20Tootle, or me, Saint Nick 9. It'll be in the descriptions.
We'll also be doing one on the Captain America Civil War trailer and the Batman vs Superman trailer.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the trailers. Just gonna break them down and give you our thoughts on it. So, yeah, be sure to check those out. And I don't know, man. It's been real. I'll see you next week. Have a smashing day, yo.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Ryan.
I thought you were gonna do AKA 22.
No, 1-800 choke that.
Like 1-800 choke that hoe.
I'm just happy that we don't have to have this episode and then a long break until. God. I'm just happy that this is not the last episode. I'm just happy that this isn't the last episode that before. What is so funny? Are you making noise? Come on.
Why is the control purple?